Okay. Welcome everybody to Interactive Friction Season 3. We are back in it as Aiden Fedor wearing Man Pierce talking to Jordy Chin. And this week I am your host and our player, Sam Callahan, and with me we have the ever enigmatic, whatever that means, Brandon Carey. Talk about video
Learn to
games.
English, nub.
English is hard. So, yeah. I'm trying to remember what the hell Jordy's talking about.
He has a job that he needs your help on,
Right.
and he figures that since he's got Maurice tied up for you because Aiden Pierce is a bastard and can't just let people go.
Hey, Pierce just
that
can't let
you
people
owe-
live
that
or be
you owe
happy
him a bit of
or...
a favor, and you might make some money out of it. So why not?
Yep, because that's all Aiden Pierce cares about. Avenging his family and also making a little coin.
Avenging the death of his daughter. Niece.
I always find it weird that this menu navigates with the right stick, because I'm used to menus like this being the D-pad, but...
Yeah, same. It definitely felt awkward. I had to get used to it as I played the game.
Alright, so we're just going to get into the best car in the game right here again.
I don't think I ever actually...
Oh, that's the wrong button!
I don't think I ever actually pulled up the vehicle menu when I played this game. Because there was always a car nearby I could just steal.
Oh, totally. But the reason that I always pulled up is because, as I said before, this is the best car in the entire game.
And I don't think I ever had access to it when I played the game.
Yeah,
so.
it's a pre-order bonus, because I bought this game literally like an hour before it came out so I could preload it.
Ugh.
Yeah. I was excited for this game.
Unfortunately, you didn't get Aiden Pierce's iconic baseball cap.
Yeah, I didn't get that edition that comes with the mask as well.
His iconic nondescript baseball cap.
I am cycling camera views. I forgot this game's a cockpit view again. What's the radio station app? Or button?
It said media app unavailable.
Oh, it's because of the newscast.
Yeah.
I was gonna do that crime, but I just realized, like Far Cry 3, let's just not do all the side stuff over and over because that's fun to watch and talk about once.
Also, literally, those never end, so you'll always find another one if you really need to do those.
Yeah. But, like Far Cry 3, I think it's safe to say, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not going to be doing most of the side stuff more than once.
Probably not.
Yeah, I believe this is where you get
I
hacked.
hope not.
Yep. This is where you get invaded for the first time.
Oh, and by the way, does anyone else? Did you get pissed off like I did when the side missions, like the criminals, ended up taking your GPS beacon away from you all the time?
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm headed to the story mission. Nope, the GPS HUD switched to this fucking criminal mission I don't care about.
Yeah, the GPS in this game in general, for as much as I love their inclusion of the Saints Row style of putting the line on the ground, everything else about it is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, funny thing is I just finished playing GTA 5 on the PC, which is basically the PS4 version with a couple of extra things.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is that if you hold the back button, you can pull up a quick GPS menu. So without pulling up, like, a map, you can just say, I want to go to the next objective.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is just a game's tutorial on how the multiplayer, or at least the one-on-one multiplayer in this game works. Basically, there are two players. There is the one being hacked, and there is the hacker.
You
And
look suspicious. Yep, there you are. Hey, what's up? Yeah.
once you find the hacker, or he can just, pop out of nowhere for no reason.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Well, I just saw him running around, and I was like, yeah, that's person. A computer person acting like a real person.
You have to find the hacker before he finishes the hack, and once you do, you have to chase him down and beat the shit out of him. Because of course Aiden Pierce beat the shit out of anyone.
It's the only thing Aiden Pierce knows how to do.
Figure out anything about him.
I actually think it's a pretty interesting idea, and I did utilize it a couple times throughout the game, because it's novel. It may not be ingenious,
this is the
but...
only time the concept of fixers, where basically like cyber mercs, ever comes into play.
Yeah.
But they don't ever use that concept in the main story, in this world about this police state where the government can figure out everything at the click of a button. You'd think there'd be a bit more like, fixers and things like that in the plot. Like there are these underground people who hack as they're living. They hack into people and do cyber crimes.
Let's see. Yeah, this is the part where it says, hey, you have to try the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Although I believe in the first
even
case
if you-
it gives me a computer, I think.
Yeah, the first mission's always against a computer opponent because they can't guarantee you're online when you're playing that mission. 'Cause it's a story mission.
Yeah. Well, I think you can't guarantee that, and you also can't guarantee that, like, they know that this game will not always be populated. But yeah, like I said before, I think it's a neat idea, and I think they do some cool concepts with it, and it's very much in-universe, but it's weird that it's just relegated to this side mission. Like, it's like most of the game, and this is definitely a Ubisoft big company problem, is that in this dystopian, well, not dystopian, this near-future hacker space, all you do is shoot people, and yet the side missions are where you do all the hacking,
Yeah.
and, like, the subterfuge and stuff that you would associate with this.
Again, it's not really about
Hey.
this cybernetic police state. It's using that as a backdrop for its shooting gallery. It's not actually about it, not really.
Yeah. And that's kind of the real shame about this idea of, like, big budget games, is I want to say we talked about in earlier episodes, it definitely at least in Far Cry, is this idea that shooting is, like, almost guaranteed to be the best-selling genre of any type of game. So it's like, it doesn't matter what the setting is, it doesn't matter what the characters or what you want to do, and everything else has to be secondary. It's like, you can hack in this game, but what you normally do is shoot people, because shooting people
You also
is guaranteed
You also dropped in on this guy like the worst possible time.
Yeah. That might be a real person. I'm not sure if someone has a name like that. That sounds like a computer name. God Freaks.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But yeah, that's just... I know we talked about it earlier with Watch Dogs, but just the idea of, like, you built this interesting, like, super near universe with a interesting idea for, like, you know, hacking and such, and they said, no, fuck, it's just a shooter. That's just the biggest disappointment of this game, for sure. Did we talk about the skill tree before? Which, I think at one point we just mentioned it's...
Not really. Not really, though.
It's kind of just useless. Like, people have pointed out before the idea that it's like, in a game that's a shooter, you don't really learn anything particular. It's just kind of like, you can take out weapons 50% faster, or you get, like, an extra grenade, but it's never, like... It's not like an RPG where you actually get valid, interesting skills. Aside from, like, the hacking stuff, where you can hack more things.
Yeah.
I guess I'll get quick switch so I can build this tree. But it's just this weird, useless sort of tree where it's like, what does it really do? Like, I could beat the whole game without ever upgrading anything, and it wouldn't change much.
It's not like these kinds of games are the problems where the upgrades are just barely noticeable. Like, if they didn't call attention to them with the upgrade tree, you'd probably never really notice that you're getting better. Your character's getting better at these tasks.
Yeah, and you know, we pointed out with Far Cry and with Tomb Raider, even though Tomb Raider I thought was interesting because it serves a narrative purpose, but they're still both useless upgrade trees in the end. Like, it doesn't really do much that completely changes the game.
Far Cry is arguable because of all the takedowns that you need.
And Tomb Raider, you could say the same thing, where there's like a couple of things, but it's not like this big focus of the game, really.
It's a common problem where nowadays, like, everything's like a 5 or 10% increase in damage, but like when you're doing 5 damage per hit, what is an extra 10% really?
Yeah.
It's an extra point if you're generous enough to round up.
And you know, like I said, just the idea of like they're useless, especially in this sense, just because it's a shooter. So it's like, as long as you can shoot well, you're fine.
Yeah. And if you're scoring headshots anyway, then
yeah, headshots will always kill in one hit.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. It's not like, say, like Borderlands or something, where it's like, this gun just does so little damage that you're actually not even hurting this guy.
Yeah.
Like, all the guns are always super lethal.
This is the shooting in this game is also pretty lethal in the general sense.
Yeah, which, I mentioned in
I
Tomb Raider, it pretty much is until you get to, like, the armored guys, the typical armored people at the end of the game.
Because, of course, we can't just, like, have more mooks, we have to have armored mooks.
Yeah. But I did mention in Tomb Raider that I am very much a fan of super lethal gunplay. Like, I think it's more interesting than super spongy guys.
Same.
Which is kind of the reason I can't get into Borderlands.
I really hate armored mooks.
Yeah.
Borderlands, I, I like them kinda, but I also really hate them. The Borderlands games.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely designed to be super spongy, guys, but at the same time, just when every other game you play, you kill a guy in like 2 hits, and then you play one where you shoot him like 100 times before he finally dies, it just feels wrong. Like, it feels
Yeah.
like you're doing something wrong.
It's just kind of the problem of making a shooter RPG hybrid, I suppose.
Yeah. Also, because I've been playing GTA, I keep pressing start to pull up the map, when of course
Definitely-
it's a Ubisoft game, so you gotta press select.
Yeah. Oh, Ubisoft.
I think I mentioned before, it's like Ubisoft, there's nothing that makes me just go, oh god, this is the worst. It's all just so box standard.
Yeah, that's the thing with Ubisoft games. That's like the problem is that they're not bad. They're just
They're good even, they're
really,
just not...
really focus tested.
Yeah, I don't know, that some of them are even pretty good. They're just really odd. Just, yeah, like you said. I can't remember when I came to this idea. It was
Maybe just-
it was somewhere
maybe-
between... Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe corporate's a better word for it.
Yeah. But something that occurred to me between our first and second session here, sorry, I'm trying to avoid, so I'm like skipping my words as I'm checking out the map. But something that did recently occur to me when I was thinking about Watch Dogs and Far Cry and all that, is that Ubisoft generally has all the right pieces, or at least in a very general sense. Not like each game does, but like Ubisoft has like all these super talented artists and programmers and ideas, and it's just like, it seems like every once in a while it comes together, and then half the time it doesn't. Like, it's just a total crapshoot.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you come with, like, Far Cry 4, and it's like, you've got the right setting, you got the right style of gunplay, you got the right characters, the right voice actors, and then sometimes you have Watch Dogs, where it's like, good setting, good style, bad gunplay, bad characters. It's like, it's just like, you got 2 out of 4 this time, you got 3 out of 4 this time. Like, it's just totally random, whether they're gonna do it or not. It's just like they're pulling a slot machine out of, like, a set of ideas, and they just match them all up and just see what works.
Yeah. I agree. Although in the case of Far Cry 4, the fact that we had a Far Cry 3 before that really negatively impacted that game, or at least how it felt.
Yeah.
Because it felt like I was doing a little too much of the same thing that I was in Far Cry 3.
Yeah, but it was, I just like it in the sense that it was like, okay, they pulled the slot machine again, and they got the same gunplay, the same good villain, and they got better setting, and, you know, things like that. Like, I almost wish I could visualize this idea of, like, a Ubisoft slot machine, where they just pulled every time. First-person shooter, third-person shooter, you know, it's like, tropical setting, or, like, Middle Eastern setting, dystopian setting. Yeah, I might do that. So, one of the more interesting aspects of this game that I wish they used, and they never do, is the idea that you can actually hide in your car to make your visible radius even smaller.
Yeah.
And it actually makes you, like, physically hide.
When
I'll
you're
demonstrate
doing
here real quick.
the fixer missions, that's actually, like, back when the game first came out, since that was, like a relatively new idea, it was perfect for for the fixer concept, because no one ever suspected you were in the car for, like, the first week this game came out.
Yeah, I actually recorded my first playthrough of the entire game because I was going to do something with it and didn't, but I almost wish I had that footage, because I had that first mission where I got into a car. Whoop, they spotted me. I had a mission where I got into a car because somebody was invading me or whatever, and I hid it in the car, and they ran by me several times over.
Yeah.
It was kind of incredible just to watch them walk by, because just in a real world sense, like, you were leaning into the car wearing black, you were kind of hard to see.
And they eventually caught on after a while and started scanning the cars.
As all communities do, eventually you figure out the tricks. Also, man, this is brutal.
This mission took me a long time to get right, if memory serves.
Yeah, it looks like there's just certain ways you can go. Like, it looks like going left is the instant death sentence.
Yeah, it's very path-driven.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to script me down a certain set of roads. But, you know, like I said, I thought the hide and car mechanic was super cool, but like a lot of things, it was very underutilized. Like, I just thought it was interesting to think about.
Yeah, it's another one of those Ubisoft things where all of the pieces are here, they just didn't use them in the right way.
Yeah. Because I bet there was somebody who developed that and was like, guys, like, you know, think about it. It's like this real world mechanic of actually, like, physically hiding away to lower your race. And like, oh, that's cool. But the game just, you know, just by virtue of Ubisoft being so big, was not designed with that in mind. It was just one of the 100 pieces that made this up. I'm probably going to get caught again. Like 8. Nope, don't see me. Damn it. Oh my god. It did happen while I get caught again. Yeah, I'm gonna get caught in 3 seconds.
You're fucked.
I mean, there's nothing I could do. Either I turn on the car and he sees me immediately, or I sit here and he sees me. What, like, actual designer looked at this and went, yes, this is this is a good idea.
And in truth, it's much more complicated. It is a bunch of people who are all getting together, and they have a limited budget, limited resources, limited time, and something slipped through the cracks.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, this is probably one of those missions that if they had taken, they had the time to take a closer look at it, they looked and said, this is a fucking awful mission.
Yeah.
And if you ask designers, like, what happened, 9 times out of 10, they already knew that they made a mistake, but they just knew they couldn't, that was like the least offensive mistake they could make out of a list of really bad things that could have happened.
Yeah, sorry, trying to think for a second. I do think that when this mission was initially designed, I'm sure in their heads it seemed like a good idea that's like, look, we have to auto-fail them because we have to teach them how the system works to perfection. But, you know, it's just one of those things of like, there's got to be a better way. But like you said, at some point they were like, look, we're out of time. This is what it has to be. It's either this or nothing. And nothing is not the option. It has to be something, so it has to be this.
This is bad, but the alternatives were likely, like, far worse.
Yeah.
So this is the least offensive option.
The lesser of multiple evils.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wouldn't be surprised if somebody just told them about time and they were like, it's either this or this. So
again,
choose
if you
this.
ask a designer, if you tell a designer something criticizing the game, odds are they have already had that thought or a similar thought when they themselves designed it, so they're not going to be surprised by anything you really had to say.
Yeah, I actually, it was probably like a week or two ago, I guess when I was at the furniture market a couple weeks ago, and I finally read that Gamasutra article, Uncharted Postmortem, that you linked
Yeah.
a while back, and they
That was
definitely...
forever ago.
Yeah, I read some articles that were a year old at that market.
Yeah.
But the point being is that they do mention that kind of idea of, like, you know, part of it is like, what went wrong? And they were like, look, we could have done this better, but we ran out of time. We had like 2 years to do this.
They were also like PS3 development versions at that point, so...
Yeah, definitely part of their article was like, we had no idea how this hardware worked. And it definitely shows when you look at Uncharted 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's where we first meet Lucky Quinn for the first time.
Oh man, Lucky Quinn, fuck this guy even more than Aiden Pierce.
He's interesting, if only because he's so blanketly evil. It's almost hilarious.
I know, it makes me question why anyone would even decide to do business with him.
Yeah, it's like, I think in general you come across that kind of villain like a Voss character, and it's like, how does one come to work for Voss when they know that they're unstable and kill someone at the drop of a hat? As you know, in the case of like Voss, you might say, well, they're pirates, that's all life they know. But in a case like this, it's like, you could probably work for somebody else in the city. You could probably have a different kind of job.
Of course, if any of the other characters in this game are to be taken at their word, that the other crime bosses in this area are far worse. Although you could just go legit. That's a perfectly valid option too.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of circumstances that lead people into this kind of life, but it's just, it's more specifically about how you get involved with someone like this. Like, do you imagine that somebody he knew was like, look, you gotta deliver this to Quinn? He's like, no, and he's like, you gotta do this.
Like, literally, you could go to any other crime boss in the city, and you really can't do much worse than Lucky fucking Quinn.
Yeah, I just wonder if this was something that was imposed on him by somebody else that he was working with. And he's like, well, I'll just do it, and it'll go well.
Like, I imagine Lucky Quinn gets by like, coercing people to do the shit against their will.
Yeah,
like,
he
that's
probably...
the kind of asshole I imagine him being.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who uses money. He seems like the kind of guy who blackmails everybody into doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's just...
Well,
he's also like, he's...
later in the game.
Also, yeah, I was going to say, if we could spoil the end, there's this whole spoiler about how he controls the entire city, like, from the mayor down. So, it's like, basically, if he's probably one of those guys that's like, I could have you killed anytime I want, if I wanted to.
Yeah,
which is...
we're getting close to kind of call it.
Okay. I was going to say that, oh god, his skin clipped through his mask. That was creepy. But I always find that villain trope, it's actually a pretty good villain trope, that idea of like, I am the ultimate evil and I control everything in your area, but it's also so easy to do. Like, it just seems
And-
kind of, like, unimaginative.
And I always get the thought of, like, he had to have been a child at some point.
Yeah.
How would someone who's, like, a kid eventually grow into the most evil bastard of the waste? Like, that doesn't just happen.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to hear his backstory, but as far as I remember, that never comes up unless there's some kind of, like, secret audio diaries I don't know about.
Nothing I'm aware of.
Alright, we're going to let this conversation go, and then we'll be done for this episode.
You got separating morals from the moolah. As if Aiden Pierce has morals.
Oh, Jordy.
I mean, he's probably convinced himself that he does, but he doesn't.
I think what I want is I don't want Aiden Pierce's iconic cap. I want a shirt that's a picture of Jordy's face and it says Jordy Fan Club. Jordy Chin
You know,
Fan
because
Club.
he is the best character in this game. And,
Yep.
like, I mean, he's just as amoral as the other characters, but he's so aware of it.
Because
that
he
it's
doesn't
okay.
have this false sense of morality. He's like, this is what I do. This is my life, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who would juggle a set of bombs. Like, bombs that he knew was disarmed, but he just wanted to fuck with you anyway.
Yeah. Oh my god, phone calls are going to keep coming. We're just going to pause here. I forgot that's how new missions come up. You always get phone calls. Anyway, we're going to call it for this one, so we will
Yeah.
see you guys in the next episode of Interactive Friction.
Later, guys.